Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
Tuesday, May 19th at 10:30 a.m., it's morning baseball. Wednesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m., have a pawsome time at Bark in the Park. Thursday, May 21st at 6:30, it's Pride Night with $5 Bud or Bud Light draft beer. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 19th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. It's going to be very warm, summer-like. High 96, and then tonight and overnight, a few clouds, low 75. And then we'll do the same thing all over again tomorrow morning. Sunshine in the morning. Then we're going to see some scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high will hit 93, but then the temp's going to fall big time into Thursday. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 67 and clear in Bedford up in Westchester. 72 and clear in Jackson over in New Jersey. And it's 74 and clear right outside our Midtown studio. The LIRR strike, it's over. I mean, the unions still have to vote on it, the union members, but head of those unions last night, meeting with the MTA, these marathon meetings all day yesterday, about 9 o'clock, maybe it was a little bit later, 9:05 to be exact, the unions and the MTA came out for a press conference to announce they had agreed to a new deal that will end the strike that began midnight on Saturday morning. The two sides reached a deal. They didn't want to give details of this thing until union members got a chance to look it over. Governor Hochul, one of the people to share word of this agreement once it was made.
We'll not be raising taxes to cover the cost of an increase for the workers, and we're not going to raise fares to make the accommodations either.
Yeah, okay, so no taxes raised, no fares raised. Well, where'd they get the money? There is still one major hurdle customers will have to deal with. Because the deal was reached so late last night, there was not enough time to get everything ready for this morning's rush. So there's no trains this morning. Trains will start running around noon, and then full service won't start until the afternoon rush. You still have to figure out a way to get into the city. They do have the shuttle buses, but they only accommodate 14,000 people. The governor last night talking that this, she thinks, is a fair deal.
Protecting affordability for Long Islanders and commuters while giving fair wages to the employees. And by working and negotiating together, we haven't reached that kind of deal.
Okay, of course, the question is why they couldn't reach this deal on Friday instead of making people miserable over the last 3 days. Kevin Sexton, he's head of the LIRR Engineers Union, talking about what took place yesterday.
We would still be at the table if it wasn't a fair deal. We are looking forward to our members getting back to work and doing what they do best, which is serving the region. We have good news tonight. We're pleased to announce that the parties have reached an agreement.
Now, I guess we'll get a peek at this as the hours wear on. LIRR riders happy, of course, to hear this, because all day yesterday they were talking about how miserable it was trying to find a way to get into the city. You know, you have people like nurses, cops, firefighters. They had to get to work.
A train back to JFK, bus back to Long Island.
My husband had to drive me to Jamaica, and then I had to take the E-train. Well, 45 minutes from the E-train to Penn, and an hour from my house to Jamaica.
Yeah, we're feeling it, but I ain't complaining. I'm alive today. You know what I mean? I'm grateful. I have a job. I could be riding a horse to work. So
yeah, that's
one
of those guys who has the glasses half full. The talks involved 5 unions representing about half of the railroad's workforce. MTA, which of course runs the railroad, the two sides across the table for hours before this was announced last night. So again, trains will not start running again until around noon, and then full service won't take place until the afternoon rush home. So if you can get into the city today somehow, you're being promised by the LIRR you will be able to get home. So that's the good news. 504. A city-owned grocery store with lower prices is going to come to the Bronx. It'll be the first of the 5 to open citywide. This was Mayor Mamdani's campaign promise, announcing the Peninsula in Hunts Point has been chosen for the city's municipal grocery store program that'll have affordable items.
When nearby families go shopping for groceries, there are not enough affordable options nearby. With only one full-service supermarket within a quarter mile, thousands of New Yorkers have only limited options.
The store won't open until next year. They say it'll be an economic driver for the South Bronx community.
Our city has taken an important and bold step towards addressing food insecurity, expanding access to fresh produce, and delivering for our families.
That's the Bronx Borough President. Mayor Mamdani says New Yorkers will see a clear price difference for fresh groceries at these 5 city-run grocery stores being planned across the 5 boroughs. So we know one's opening up in Harlem. Now we know one's opening up in the Bronx next year. Waiting to hear when the other 3 boroughs will get a shot at one of these grocery stores. 505, some evidence will be suppressed in Luigi Mangioni's New York State trial in the alleged murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. New York State Supreme Court Judge Gregory Caro ruled yesterday that a search of Mangioni's belongings at that Pennsylvania McDonald's where they cuffed him was an unreasonable search.
Therefore, those items found in the backpack during the search at the McDonald's will be suppressed.
Those items include a loaded handgun, a magazine, and a passport. Mangioni's defense had argued they were unlawfully seized without a warrant.
I find that the search of the backpack at the McDonald's was improper, warrantless search, that the backpack was not within the immediate control or grabbable area of the defendant. The subsequent search of the backpack at the station was a valid inventory search, and therefore the items recovered at the station will not be suppressed.
Mangioni faces state and federal charges in his alleged assassination of Thompson, and the judge in the federal trial ruling to allow some of those items and not others. Now, you had that creepy moment outside the courthouse again yesterday where all these fair amount of them attractive women showing up who are in love with Mangioni and in love with the fact that he assassinated a healthcare executive, which is sort of amazing. But there they were again. Now, some of it I always feel like it's to juice their social media. I imagine that's the case for some of them, but other of them clearly just out of their minds. They're just a bizarre way to behave. WABC News Time 509. Let's go out to San Diego. The New York Post reporting this morning, the alleged gunman in a shooting rampage that left 3 dead outside a San Diego mosque yesterday afternoon have been identified as 17-year-old Kane Clark and 18-year-old Khalib Velasquez. At least one of the gunmen took a weapon from their parents' home and left a suicide note that talked about racial pride. Now, Clark attended a local high school, was apparently a standout wrestler there. His grandfather putting out a statement last night saying, "We're very sorry for what happened. We know as much as you do. It's a shock." Clark and Velasquez were found dead inside a BMW from self-inflicted gunshot wounds just a few blocks away from where they allegedly opened fire at the Islamic Center of San Diego. The San Diego police chief says police initially got a call from the mother of one of those teenage shooters warning that her son had taken weapons and the car from her home.
The information that she was gathering and conveying to us began to elevate the threat level that we were perceiving with this information.
Yeah, so right after that, police got a call about an active shooter at the Islamic Center. When they arrived at the scene, police found 3 adults dead, which included a security guard, a landscaper who was working in the area. He was shot too, but is okay. The investigation, of course, ongoing, involves the FBI, but police say hate rhetoric was involved in the attack. They did not offer a whole lot more about that.
At about the same time as they were making entry and searching through the facility, room by room, we received calls of a vehicle a couple blocks away that was shooting at a landscaper.
And that was the BMW. The investigation really just getting underway.
We are in the process of serving search warrants that will continue tonight and on into the days ahead.
Now, the imam at the Islamic Center of San Diego, he spoke to reporters after the gunfire yesterday.
We have never experienced a tragedy like this before. And at this moment, all what I can say is sending our prayers and standing in solidarity with all the families in our community here.
Yeah, and just incredibly, right? And you can't go to a church, a mosque, or synagogue. I mean, how many of these shootings have we done over the last year? More from the imam.
The other mosques and all the places of worship in our beautiful city should always be protected.
Well, of course. And anti-Islamic writings were found in the gunman's vehicle. Hate speech was written apparently on the firearms that were used in the shooting. That, according to somebody connected to the investigation, a shotgun and a gas can with an SS sticker on the side were located at the scene where the gunmen's bodies were discovered. The SS sticker appears to be representing the Nazi regime, of course, in Germany. Of course, as more details come in on that shooting, but I think we have a good sense of what it's all about. We will pass them on to you. While we're in California, a Southern California brush fire prompting mandatory evacuation orders yesterday. The Sandy Fire, this is in Simi Valley. Right now, we're told it's 0% contained, 1,300 acres. It's in this mountainous area where the homes are millions of dollars. One house has already been damaged.
This is a fast-moving brush fire in light grass and brush. We have multiple resources on order, including multiple air tankers.
Of course, homeowners, when they see this, they think about the Palisades fire. They worry about this getting out of control.
We have approximately 200 firefighters on scene, and we are attacking the fire both from the air and from the ground.
Now, again, this morning they're telling us 0% contained.
We were prepared for this wind. We're anticipating these dry winds to subside in about 4 to 5 hours. And we're continuing to get resources arriving on scene. I just saw a new air tanker come in a little bit ago.
Now, the Simi Valley fire broke out on a dry hillside, an area full of mountainous brush that surrounds these homes that are valued in the millions. Fire crews, water helicopters have been working through the night in tandem to fight the blaze. But the issue, as you heard from that firefighter there, is they had wind gusts last night of 40 miles per hour. 5:13, the Justice Department announcing a $1.8 billion fund now that would compensate those who were targets of the Biden administration and the Biden White House. On Monday, President Trump, told reporters that he thinks this fund's a great idea.
People that were weaponized and really treated brutally by a system that was so corrupt, with corrupt people running it, and they're getting reimbursed for their legal fees and the other things that they had to suffer.
Now, they're calling this the Anti-Weaponization Fund. It comes just after President Trump dropped his lawsuit against the IRS that demanded at least $10 billion connected to the search of his home. You remember that? Back in Palm Beach, Florida. The DOJ said they created a systematic process to hear and redress claims of others who have suffered weaponization and lawfare at the hands of the Biden administration.
This is reimbursing people that were horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized.
The fund also gives those pardoned related to the January 6th Capitol riots a way to get payouts for what they say was government overreach. 5:14, the cruise ship at the center of that deadly hantavirus outbreak was back in its home port in the Netherlands yesterday. Jake Rosmarian was on board that virus-stricken ship, and he says learning of the presence of the hantavirus was incredibly worrisome.
I was scared. And after that, I really didn't leave my cabin very much.
Yes, so 3 people who were aboard that luxury cruise vehicle became infected. They died while at sea. Evacuation flights were arranged for the rest of the passengers, most of the crew members. Some stayed on board for that ship's voyage back home. Meanwhile, you have 18 evacuees here in the U.S.
It's been hard to work through it myself, but thankfully I have family and friends that are so supportive, and we do, if we request, have outside help.
Yeah, that's Jake, who was aboard. So in the U.S., 18 evacuees marking their first full week under quarantine, 16 in Nebraska, 2 in Atlanta. Health officials monitoring at least 41 others in 16 states who may have been exposed to the hantavirus. In a moment, if that's not scary enough, the president yesterday talking about the Ebola virus. We'll get into that story in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. My buddy Justin Ellick's got a well-deserved day off, so you have me. After a nice long rest, the Knicks going to be back in action tonight. New York tipping off the Eastern Conference Finals by hosting Game 1 against the Cavaliers at the Garden. The Knicks went 1-2 against Cleveland during the regular season. The Spurs, well, they stunned NBA fans, beating the Thunder double overtime in Oklahoma City, 122-115 last night. They take Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Victor Wembanyama, he just dominated. 41 points for San Antonio. Game 2 of the best of 7 is tomorrow back in OKC. Yankees rallied for a 7-6 win over the Blue Jays in the Bronx last night. Paul Goldschmidt went deep with a solo homer in the first. Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm Jr. each slugged 2-run shots in the 7th. New York snapped that 2-game skid and will continue its 4-game set against Toronto tonight. The Mets, they're playing great baseball all of a sudden. They blew out the Nationals 16-7 in extra innings in Washington last night. New York combined to score 10 times in the top of the 12th. The Mets have won 6 of their last 7, will continue their 4-game set in D.C. tonight. In the NHL Conference Finals, they're set. Carolina Hurricanes face off against the Montreal Canadiens in the Eastern Conference Final after the Habs topped the Buffalo Sabres Game 7 of their second-round series last night. And Game 1 slated for Thursday in Raleigh. The Western Conference Final, that's set to start on Wednesday. The Colorado Avalanche hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. WABC News Time 519. President Trump says he is a bit concerned about the Ebola virus right now.
I'm concerned about everything, but certainly am. I think that, it's been confined right now to Africa, but it's something that has had a breakout.
Yeah, his comments come after an American tested positive for the virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization has declared the current outbreak in the DRC and Uganda a public health emergency. The American and 6 others, they've been taken to Germany now for observation. President Trump says the U.S. had very big discussions with Iran over the last couple hours.
It's a very positive development, but we'll see whether or not it amounts to anything.
And that's why he says he's paused a planned military attack against Iran that was set for today after Middle Eastern leaders asked him for a delay.
We've had periods of time where we thought pretty much getting close to making a deal, and it didn't work out, but this is a little bit different. Put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran.
Now, the president didn't say how much time he would give Iran this time, but apparently enough time that he put off those starting up the war again. 5:20, red flags being raised after the news outlet Axios reporting that Cuba has stockpiled over 300 Russian and Iranian attack drones to hit potential targets, including Key West and Guantanamo Bay. Cuba expert Dr. Andy Gomez says we need to remember that this hasn't been confirmed just yet.
There are many rumors running around, both here and coming from the island. We have to be very, very careful as to where we're getting the information.
Dr. Gomez says the communist island would be making a grave mistake if it acted on any threat to the U.S. South Florida lawmakers are now demanding accountability. More from Gomez, who says Cuba would be making a huge mistake if it were to start these rumored drone attacks.
What they will get hit with will be very similar, and they've seen the pictures coming out of Iran.
Yeah, I think it would be uglier than that.
We cannot allow Cuba to have drones 90 miles from our coast. I've had people calling me, do we need to start building bunkers? No, we do not need to start building bunkers.
Now, but Axios, by the way, doubling down on its reporting, saying that Cuba has stockpiled those 300 Russian and Iranian drones that could potentially hit targets, right? Of course, not 90 miles away from their coast in Florida. President Trump says more prescription drugs being added to that Trump RX website. Have you checked it out? In a healthcare affordability event at the White House yesterday, the president says the website is adding 7 times the amount of drugs it currently has.
So we've slashed the price of dozens of commonly used prescription drugs by differences of 400, 500, and even 600%.
So this has been the problem for decades, right? The drugs cost a lot more here, even though a lot of them are manufactured here, than they do when they're sold overseas. The president says he's had enough of that. So he says these discounted prices will save Americans $500 billion in drug costs.
Under the most favored nation agreements I negotiated, we now pay the lowest price paid for anybody in any country.
It's all part of his efforts to bring down health care costs in the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, he was in Missouri yesterday pushing the Trump administration's efforts to support American manufacturing. He visited a Kansas City manufacturing plant where he said Made in America is making a comeback with President Trump at the helm.
We are bringing the United States of America back, and it's starting right here in the great state of Missouri.
The vice president touting the number of plants that are opening across the U.S., stressing new investment in American workers.
They were shedding jobs instead of creating jobs, and the workers were suffering. We're investing in the United States of America once again, and we're investing in American workers.
He was also there to pump up some local Republican primary candidates after Missouri Supreme Court recently upheld a new map that could help Republicans win an additional House seat in the midterms. 523, U.S. Attorney's Office announcing charges against a woman who's accused of illegally registering homeless people to vote in the Los Angeles area. The U.S. Attorney out there discussing the charges yesterday.
There was a public reporting of an undercover video of her on video paying homeless people to register to vote. So I think that was widely reported. We initiated and opened up a criminal investigation with the FBI.
The person he's talking about, 64-year-old Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong. She's from Marina Del Rey, a longtime petition signature collector for ballot initiatives in California. Federal officials said she paid people, including homeless, living on Skid Row, to register to vote.
This is ongoing. We believe it is widespread. I personally have seen it happen in other jurisdictions as well as a longtime election lawyer. We've discovered several 100,000 dead people on the voter rolls and a number of tens of thousands of people on the voter rolls with no discernible citizenship record, which is required by the Help America Vote Act.
None of this is probably shocking to you, is it?
That there were over 1 million people on the voter rolls in Los Angeles County who did not belong on the voter rolls because they were dead, they had moved, they were duplicates, or they were otherwise ineligible to vote in Los Angeles County. This is a widespread problem in California.
Now, the question is, were they able to vote? We didn't really get an answer to that. Brown Armstrong allegedly paid homeless people in cash, cigarettes, and phone cards. She's charged with one felony count of paying another person to register to vote. She's due in federal court and has agreed to plead guilty. 525, let's go down to Texas, where Republican Senator John Cornyn has filed legislation that would bar immigrants who support Sharia law from entering or remaining in the U.S.
In Texas, my constituents have become increasingly alarmed at immigrant enclaves that seek to adopt Sharia law.
Now, he says the measure is part of a broader effort to defend constitutional protections as the nation approaches its 250th anniversary.
Last summer, a group of individuals attempted to create a Sharia law compound in Josephine, Texas, known as the East Plano Islamic Center.
Now, if passed, it would deny immigrant benefits to non-citizens who support what he called anti-American activities. Those benefits include asylum and green cards. The Muslim Sharia law severely restricts the rights of women. 526, big portions of Texas's new border security bill have been struck down by a federal judge. Backers of the legislation slamming the ruling yesterday, calling this judge an activist one.
He has been extremely hostile to any state-level efforts to combat the border crisis.
Chris Russo is with Texans for Strong Borders, predicts the law will eventually be upheld.
They are so isolated from the situation on the ground that they cling to these understandings of federalism that are seriously outdated.
So it leans heavily on the theory that Texas is being invaded, arguing that unprecedented illegal immigration allows the state to engage in war and sidestep normal constitutional limits. 526. Short-term career and technical education programs are now going to be eligible for those federal Pell Grants. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says it's thanks to a new rule in the Workforce Pell Grant program.
So this is a new program from 8 to 15 weeks. You can go in and get certifications and go ahead and get into the workforce and get a job.
Yes, so states will determine with high demand fields will qualify, which fields will qualify for this funding.
It's going to be a cheaper way to get certifications. You can stack these credentials, in electrical work, HVAC, carpentry, a lot of the skills and workforce that we need.
The people we need desperately. It's a great idea.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 19th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. It's going to be very warm, summer-like. High 96. And then tonight and overnight, a few clouds, low 75. And then we'll do the same thing all over again tomorrow morning. Sunshine in the morning. Then we're going to see some scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high will hit 93, but then the temp's going to fall big time into Thursday. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 67 and clear in Bedford, up in Westchester. 72 and clear in Jackson over in New Jersey. And it's 74 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 538. More on that LIRR story that Joe just mentioned. The strike is over. The MTA unions reaching a tentative agreement. This was about 9 o'clock last night to end the 3-day work stoppage. Here's one of the union leaders after that announcement was made.
We cannot discuss the specifics. What I can say is we are looking forward to our members getting back to work and doing what they do best, which is serving the region.
Details of the plan were not released last night as unions are waiting for workers to get a chance to look them over. The MTA's Jano Lieber, he's the chair, says the new contract is a fair one for everybody.
The whole point was that we needed to find ways that we could give people fair raises, but also structure it in a way that didn't blow the MTA's budget. We got it done.
Yeah, Governor Hochul, she was part of these negotiations yesterday as well.
We'll not be raising taxes to cover the cost of an increase for the workers, and we're not going to raise fares to make the accommodations either.
Now, of course, this was just a huge deal when it began Saturday morning, Saturday at midnight. 300,000 commuters take the LIRR on an average work day. Yesterday was the first work day. People were trying to find all different ways to get into the city. So the way it's going to work today, that we heard from the LIR president last night, he's Robert Free. So he says service will resume on the LIRR at noon with hourly service on the Port Washington, Huntington, Ronkonkoma, and Babylon branches, and then the train service will be at full peak for the afternoon rush home. So they're promising us, and let's hope they hold this promise, that if you can find a way to get into the city today, and they still have those shuttle buses going from some of the train stations to the Jamaica Station subway, or if you get in another way, that you'll be able to get home this afternoon. 540. Another inmate at Rikers has died in custody. We got the news last night. Officials say 41-year-old passed away after having some sort of medical emergency. She was staying in the Rose Singer Center. Officials say she was given some sort of emergency treatment and declared dead. This was about 11 o'clock yesterday morning. So now they're going to try to figure out exactly what happened. The chief medical examiner, the Bronx and Queens District Attorney, going to take part in this as well. This is the third documented death of an inmate on Rikers Island this year. The first two happened, you might remember this, within 1 week of each other, and that was back in March. Well, we're doing some grim news. I mean, this is, you wonder how a mother can move on. It's just horrendous. A third child has died following an apartment building fire. Remember that apartment building fire up in the Fordham section of the Bronx last week? Family members confirming this last night. 6-year-old Osees Parks was critically injured in the May 12th blaze on Bainbridge Avenue, and apparently he died yesterday. His younger brother Liam and his twin sister had already passed away. The FDNY says all 3 children had suffered severe smoke inhalation injuries, and what family sources are saying, it just makes the story even more awful, is the children's mother. She was home with the kids, and she briefly stepped outside this building to get another kid from the school bus right downstairs. And that's when this fire broke out, and they still don't know 100% why. When she tried to return to the building, it was so much smoke she could not get through it. It was so thick, there was no way she could get in. And firefighters raced into this burning building. They pulled the children out, rushing them to the hospital, but one by one, the family kept receiving the worst possible news that their kids had not survived. I mean, your heart just aches for this mother. There is a growing memorial now outside this building, grieving the loss of the 3 young siblings. There's candles, flowers, toys have been placed along the sidewalk as neighbors sort of rally around this heartbroken family. 8 people in total were injured in the fire, including 2 adults and 3 firefighters. Again, still don't know 100% what started that thing. 542. NYPD cops have now released video of a story we told you about yesterday. They're looking for this man who choked a 7-year-old child and then pushed and shoved 2 other kids at a Red Hook playground last week. Investigators say the man approached the 5-year-old victim, the 7-year-old victim, and the 12-year-old inside Bush Clinton Park. Now, people who use this playground every single day were pretty shocked to hear what had taken place there last week.
Terrible. It's obviously not acceptable, and it's unfortunate that that's happened. I hope the kids are all right.
Yeah, so the good news is the kids are going to be okay. The ones that were knocked down, they were fine. The 7-year-old who was choked, he was treated by EMS and released. And the NYPD putting out this really clear video. I mean, I think if you know this guy, you're going to recognize him, and you need to turn him in.
Knowing that things like that can happen is scary out here, because we have a 5-year-old and he's very enthusiastic and happy, so I wouldn't want anything like that to ever scar him or put him in any type of danger.
Now, they say they have no connection to this individual, just some sicko walking the street. Sources close to the investigation say that the same guy, the same creep that they're looking for, also smashed the phone of a 12-year-old sometime after the attack at that playground. Again, there's clear video of this wanted man. It's being circulated in this neighborhood this morning. They're hoping someone will recognize him and turn him in. 544, let's bring it back into Manhattan, where a horse and buggy driver were hurt yesterday after 2 horse-drawn carriages collided in Central Park. This was yesterday afternoon. Apparently, one horse carriage pulled up to the 7th Avenue line where they all hang out when the horse became startled and collided with another horse carriage, causing it to overturn. The whole thing overturned. The driver of the overturned carriage was briefly trapped, taken to the hospital by ambulance. Christina Hansen, she is the head of the Horse and Buggy Union, and she says the horse got spooked, and the horses and the individual who was riding that carriage, they're both okay.
There was a horse that was dropping off customers at the end of the line, and the horse startled, pulled out of the line, crossed wheels to the other carriage, tipped the carriage over.
Now, we're being told that Otis, that's the name of the horse, was injured mildly so in the accident, but a vet was called to have him checked out and that he's going to be okay. But then you have these animal rights activists who have called for years to end these horse and buggy rides through Central Park. And every time there's an incident like this, there's another call for horse and carriages to be banned in Central Park.
We're trying to get these horses off the street. It's not safe. It's too hot out here. And this has been going on for a long time.
Yes, so the New York City Council, they say it's time for them to pass this law called Riders Law, which end what they say is the archaic industry before the next carriage overturns or the next horse collapses. Of course, there'll be great concern today with the temperature going up into the 90s for these horses. But you have these tourists who come not just from locally, but all around the world. And what they wait for, one of the highlights of visiting New York City, is a horse and carriage ride through Central Park. And they say, from what they can tell, and this was a couple who just got off a horse from Texas, or they were from Texas in New York on a ride, saying that from what they could tell, the horses were well taken care of.
Horses have pulled carriages for many, many hundreds of years, so I think that's been around probably long before the protesters started. I do think they should be have food and water and have rest periods.
Just how they're treated afterwards and during that ride that's important, and that should be humane.
Yeah, and they said they had no problem riding the horse and carriage, and they said they should still stay in Central Park. That's the argument for the tourists anyway. All right, in a moment, we will head over to Long Island, where there's a search for somebody who's smashing up church statues. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:46, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, which apparently is the same desk I'm sitting at right now. Justin's got the morning off, so you have me. After a nice long rest, the Knicks going to be back in action tonight. New York tipping off the Eastern Conference Finals, hosting Game 1 against the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Garden. The Knicks went 1-2 against the Cavs during the regular season. The Spurs stunning NBA fans, beating the Thunder double overtime. Oklahoma City 122-115 last night. Take Game 1, Western Conference Finals. Victor Wembanyama, and he just dominated last night. 41 points for San Antonio. Game 2 of that best of 7 is tomorrow back in OKC. The Yankees, they rallied for a 7-6 win over the Blue Jays Bronx last night. Paul Goldschmidt went deep solo homer in the first. Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm Jr. each slugged 2-run shots in the 7th. New York snapping that 2-game skid will continue its 4-game set against Toronto tonight. The Mets blew out the Nationals 16-7 in extra innings in Washington last night. New York combined to score 10 times in the top of the 12th. The Mets have won 6 of their last 7, will continue their 4-game series in D.C. tonight. And the NHL Conference Finals are set now. Carolina Hurricanes face off against the Montreal Canadiens in the Eastern Conference Final after the Habs topped the Sabres Game 7 of their second-round series last night. And game 1 for that is slated for Thursday in Raleigh. The Western Conference Final set to start on Wednesday. That will pit the Colorado Avalanche against the Vegas Golden Knights. And sports is sponsored by our good friend Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a dealer near you. Peerless Boilers, they are the world's best-built boilers. WABC News Time 5:50. Do you remember this story from last year in the Hudson Valley? A DoorDash driver whose phone battery died went up to this guy's door to say, hey, do you have a cord where I can juice my cell phone? And the guy on the other side of the door shot him. Fired bullets at him. So this Hudson Valley man who shot a DoorDash driver sentenced yesterday to 17 years behind bars. The shooting happened in May of last year. Prosecutors say the DoorDash driver knocked on the door of John Riley's home in Chester because he was lost and his phone battery had died. Now, he had one of these doorbell cameras, so it got a recording of the DoorDash driver he shot. Now, that driver survived, but he's got a lot of injuries.
I don't know. My phone is I need any help.
Now, apparently, Riley told him to leave and then walked outside his home, fired multiple shots, even as the driver was trying to get away in his car. On Monday, the victim's attorney reacted to the 17-year sentence.
I take no pleasure in the incarceration of anyone. I'm sure he's sorry at this point, but as the judge said, there has to be some form of punishment.
Now, one of the bullets pierced the driver's vehicle, so he's driving away. All right, so a bullet pierces the driver's vehicle from behind, travels through the driver's seat, embeds itself in this driver's abdomen. He had internal organ damage, severely damaged his digestive tract. He had emergency surgery that removed some of his small intestine. Now he has follow-up surgeries. It's permanent lifestyle impacts. They didn't go into all the details. But Riley's attorney, he was in court obviously yesterday as well. Riley is a former highway superintendent, and he says that the punishment against his client is too harsh.
It's hard to rationalize why someone who has achieved a partial acquittal of the most serious offenses, or 2 of the 3 most serious offenses, should face a harsher sentence. Mr. Riley is doing the best he can under the circumstances. He's continuing to express his remorse over the whole situation, particularly the injuries that were caused to the complainant in this case.
No. I mean, this DoorDash driver didn't show any threat to you, and then you're shooting at him as he drives away. 17 years sounds about right. Let's go out to Long Island, where it was just a crazy and awful weekend over at St. Mary's Church. They found that they showed up for church on Sunday, and they discovered the head of a Sacred Heart of Jesus statue had been just completely chopped off. Father Anthony Iaconis, he's the pastor of St. Mary's, says the damage was discovered as churchgoers were gathering for services and First Communion celebrations were taking place, an event that typically brings families to that spot where the statue is to take photos. And when they got there, they saw what had taken place.
I had come out from a funeral and saw people around across the way into the auditorium. We had First Communions, and this is where the kids come and they take their picture.
Yeah, so police were called in. They did find the statue's head later in the nearby bushes. Here's a longtime member of St. Mary's. She said, who's doing something like this?
I think everyone would be upset by it, even whether you belong to this parish or not, or, whether you're Catholic or Jewish, it doesn't really matter.
Of course. Father Iaconis says donations have already begun to pour in to help repair the statue, which is expected to be restored next week. But he was worried about the individual who carried out this crime. He wanted to give him some form of forgiveness.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. I just ask people to pray for the person who did this. It's not right, but we can still pray for them.
Yeah, he's bigger than me. I wouldn't pray for him. 5:54. Let's go over to New Jersey, where they're trying to help bars and restaurants cash in on the World Cup. And they'll do so by letting them sell alcohol throughout the tournament, essentially no matter what time of day it is. So you'll be able to get like a pint of Guinness as you watch a game, even if it's in the early morning or the middle of the night. Governor Mikey Sherrill, she was in Hoboken yesterday signing this proclamation, encouraging municipalities across New Jersey to extend alcohol sales during matches for the World Cup.
This is the first time I've signed a proclamation in a bar. It's allowing businesses to really get some good economic impact from the World Cup.
So the goal is to convince local leaders to let bars and restaurants open earlier or stay open later to align with the World Cup schedule across time zones. Changes would vary from town to town. The mayor of Hoboken, where there's like a bar in every single corner, says, she's open to the idea of keeping bars open during the 39-day event of the World Cup.
I think we'll be taking this into consideration as a great option for us. We've been actively working with our public safety departments to make sure that all of the logistics around World Cup are coordinated appropriately.
Now, the owner of Mulligan's Pub, that's a well-known bar in Hoboken, says he's expecting big business, big crowds during the World Cup.
Super excited. It's going to be crazy around here, but, it's going to be a good time.
We're expecting a lot of people to show up, but we're going to make it the best place to go watch a game other than going to the game itself, I suppose, yeah.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?